All right, I think we're going again. My mouse is working again, which is nice. Uh, it's also good because I think during that time I actually had a remembrance, I don't know, of how to do better testing. It's been a while since I've had to write tests, or since I've written tests. It's been a while since I've coded, which is one of the reasons it's kind of fun to be doing these and talking out loud. So let me just make sure this is actually going to show up because I think OBS says we're going. I just want to verify that. Should see it here in a second. Cool. Okay. All right, so let's bring all this stuff back up. There's our terminal. Good. So the thing that I realized that I want to do is do what Sandy Metz calls shameless green. Sandy Metz is a programmer. I saw her Ruby. I went to her Ruby class, practical object-oriented design in Ruby, a few years back. It was fantastic. But one of the things that she talks about is doing shameless green testing, which is you do the quickest and dirtiest thing that you can do to get to green, to get something passing. And so the first thing I'm going to do is figure out how to write the test. So inside tests. Whoops, that didn't work. Let me bring up NVAlt again, my little grimoire, which goes to a new site, creating a new site in Apache for some reason. PyTest. There's all my Python notes. So I just need to see the basics for how to do a Python test, right? On test main. Okay, so this is a good simple test. Okay, this isn't bad. Okay, this is pretty good. I'm not going to try and get fancy with this. I'm just going to do it. So def test or define test, whatever. And we need self there, is that right? Self assert equal. So we just want to make sure that 1 equals 1. So this is just, all I'm doing right now is getting set up to make sure that this test stuff is passed. So if name equals main unit test main and fail fast, which, oh, got it. So I also don't have, I didn't start up my virtual directory again. So source, virtual environment, bin, activate. Now, let's get back to our test directory. Let's see if we run this test. Whoops, I totally killed that. There we go. Try that. Fail fast is not fine. Why didn't fail fast defined? Oh well. There we go. So this is our test running. And so we'll also verify, even though we know it's going to work because it's running, 1 does not equal to 0, so there's a failure. Whew. Okay, good. Now, here's the thing. What I'm going to do is because this is going to be a one-off, like a once-run script, I'm actually going to use like the external target locations for things to get moved. So I know that I've got content. I'm actually going to use this 2 quarts. So I know that this 2 quarts file was written in 2006. So, and let me do this. Move this up here so we can see this. So what I'm going to do in the prod target content, I know I want to have that post directory, and I want to have a 2006 directory. I want to have a 2 quartz file, and I want a copy of this index.md file. So that's the first thing that I'm going to look for writing a test. So we're going to call that test MD file moved. And then Python file exists. Do we have a Python file exist? Unit check, file exists. There we go. So here's how we check to see if a file exists. We're going to add OS path here. Self assert true. OS path is a file. And then, so I'm just going to make this easy. Woodshed, allenwsmith.com, prod, target, content, post, this is 6, So this is just an easy way for me to copy this whole file, or copy that path. Did I do that twice? No. And then /index.md. Right, so right now that file exists because I just put it there. So that test is passing. So that's the most shameless green, is I just put the file there. And if we delete that file, our test is going to fail. So we know we've got a failing test, and we know if we drop the thing in, it's gonna work. And so the other thing that we can do, so how do we test? How do we move files? So let's do this. We're gonna open up our update script. So this is another thing that I like. And again, about having tests, and this is why I always kind of talk about, oh, I'm not gonna do a test, and then I do the test. I'm like, I'm so glad I did tests. But this will also let me figure out how to kind of do this stuff. So if I do move files, this should break because there's nothing called move files. But this will actually let me see if, I'm gonna keep these alphabetical. Move files, does this work? Print here. Actually, let's do this. Pass, which just goes past it. Whoops. Move files is not defined. Okay, so how do we get to update directory structure? Move files? Oh, okay, so that's how you get to it. Nice. Yeah, so we've imported that script as a module, and then there's just by the way, this is super, I'm sure everybody knows Python knows this stuff. I just haven't done it this way before, so welcome. Yeah, so then there's this defined function here, or method. Actually, I guess it's just a function. It's not really a method because it's not in a class. Okay, cool, so that's how you call it. Cool, all right, so now what we want to do is just do the most shameless thing that we can do to get a file sitting there. And so what that's going to be is, I'm going to look in my notes, touch a file. So I'm just going to put all this stuff right here. Can you do that? I don't know if you can do this. Didn't seem to mind. Oh, well, it's not getting called. Path. Let's go back over here and grab all this junk. Actually, don't know how to do. Posts. I don't know how to go. There we go, to the end of the line. Get all the rest of that stuff. Right, touch. So touching a file, just if the file doesn't exist, it just makes it show up with nothing in it. And if it does exist, it moves the last I think it's the last modified time up to whatever the current time is. So it's just a good way when you just need to make a file happen without actually doing anything with it. So it should happen. Oh, actually, does that work? No such file or directory from target content to Quartz. Line 10 in test file moved. What is going on? No such file or directory, right? Why did that error message look different? So this is doing something here. Test update move file. So in update structure move files. Something's wrong with this. So here's error hunting, which is a big part of this. And this is one of the things I want to show a little bit is just, here's where live coding comes in. Line 10, test MD file moved. See, it's talking to me about this line. Touch, raw, and raw open. No such file or directory. Yes, we know that. That's why we want to make it. Error retrieving current directly. Oh, okay. So I know what happened. When I ran this file, it actually cleared the directory. So if we go look at it, there's not going to be anything content. See, there's nothing in there. So so I had that structure. So I need to, when you touch a file like that, it had the directory that you're trying to make the file in has to exist. It existed when I first did it because I had built the post 2016 2 quartz file or directory structure. When I ran the other script, it cleared all that stuff out. So when touch tried to go, it didn't have all the structure there. So the question is, so I've got to make the directory. Well, let's just do this. Let's make sure touch file works first. So posts 2006. I'm going to make sure not to delete it this time. So 2 quartz, but there's no file in there this time. Actually, let me do this because we're not ready to run that yet. So that shouldn't do anything. Okay, whatever. So if I run this, Something's still bugged. I have to pass that. Yes, okay, good. So nothing, that shouldn't have killed that. Okay, good. So now if we run this, test pass. So that's the most shameless green thing we can do, is just touch the file and have it be there. But so now what I should do is I'm going to make a setup. So what I'm thinking about doing is actually clearing that directory. Yeah, so let me actually, I'm not going to do that every time. I'm just going to do that here. So this is going to break again. So another thing that Sandy talks about is only staying one step away from green. And what she means by that is like right now I'm green, right? The tests are passing. So if I run this, test pass, everything's okay. Her point is try, like, when you're making a test fail, try to only be one step away, like basically one undo away from have it being back to okay again. If you don't try and work on that, it's really easy to get several steps down the road, and then you're kind of all in a cluster, and you can't figure out what's going on, and it's tough, and you have to revert a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm trying to think right now. So if I run clear directory, that's going to break. But I'm still kind of one step away from green because I built those directory structures myself. So I'm gonna run clear directory right here. Because I wanna have a good clear directory. Now this is gonna break. Because again, it took away all those other directories that we needed to have there. The post, 2006, 2 quarts. That's okay. So I'm kind of one step away from green in terms of if I took this out. So if I take this out, if I comment this out, it's still going to break. But that's because I had manually put in those folders. So if I manually put in those folders again, I'm going to be back to green. In fact, we can do that. Just make sure posts 2006 2 quarts. I wish there was a way, and there probably is. Is that gonna work? Oh, that's still there. Yeah, I didn't think so. Two quarts. Next that. No, wait, actually I don't want to touch that yet. I just want the directory to be there. And then, because if I run the script now, I'm green again. Okay, yeah. So now the trick is this is going to fail. That's good. So what I know I need to do is when I'm moving these files, I need to create the directory that the file gets touched in. And this is good because I do want this process to be run on a clean directory. So this is what I need to do. And some of these things are going to go back and forth. Like I may delete some of this code later. That's fine. So, and by the way, the reason I'm keeping this import here and this path here is because this is the shameless green stuff. I want to make sure I don't put that up at the top and accidentally forget it. In fact, what we really could do is shameless green. So now what we want to do is, oh yeah, see, I just ran that script again. Ah, cool. I've actually got code. I might put that in a minute. I've got code that lets me run either the main script or the test script and run tests every time, just to make it a little easier to do. Just saves a step. I'm not going to put that in right now, though, because it's easy enough to jump back and forth. I've just got the ones. But what I need to do is make a directory. So I'm going to go back to my notes, make a directory tree if it doesn't exist. There we go. So import pathlib pathlib dot, oh, I've already got it. So I can just do this. Path, same thing. We want all this junk. Make dir. Make sure we do the parents so that, because the in directory, like so none of these three directories exist. If we just tried to do this directory without parents on true, it would fail because these two are missing. But if you do parents equals true, it does as far back in the tree as it needs to do. Parents equals true. And then exists okay equals true. So it doesn't fail. If the directory already exists, it doesn't bomb on us. And then what we need to do is make sure, whoops. What we need to do is make sure that that make dir happens before we try and touch the file. So what happens now, I think is going to pass. Nope. Unexpected keyword exists, okay. Oh, exist, okay. So get rid of that. There we go, test passed again. So now, and we can actually see that in action over here. So if I'm in my target directory, content, posts, 2006, quartz, index. So if I delete that all the way up to posts, that's basically the same as if the directory got cleared. When I run the test, it's going to run clear directory, which we kind of already did, but then it's going to run the move files, which is what's going to create that directory structure and then touch the file. So as soon as we run this, post comes back, 2006, do quartz. Cool. So now my file exists and I'm good to go there. So now, but there's nothing in it, right? It's just an empty file. Which I'm less worried about the content of it, but it's not, the biggest trick is it's not coming from the actual place. So now I'm going to try and get the actual file to move over. And like I'm trying to do this from the simplest pieces and build it up. So when I was first thinking about what I was going to do, I was thinking, oh, I'm going to start with like grabbing the directory structure and then I'll like parse the files and do all that other stuff. But so this test stuff, really, I like it because it makes me focus kind of another way, which is like this shameless green aspect gets there in terms of like, hey, I'm gonna just make sure I can make a file exist. Now I'm gonna go back and instead of trying to do the full directory structure again, I'm gonna try and just do the simplest thing I can do, which again, I want to keep the state in green, but I want the actual file to be there. So, and I want the simplest way to do that. So now what I'm gonna go do is figure out the simplest way to move the file in. And so let's see, how do we want to do that? So move files. And this is where it's going to get into how much I want to split stuff out. Because what I think I might want to do, I think I'm going to rename this to move file. And only move a single file with this function. Yeah, that's better. So we're going to get rid of the S. We're going to go over here. We're going to get rid of this S. Still passes. Because what I want to do All right, so instead of touching the file, I want to copy the file. And I want to copy it from the original source. So, and what I want to do for that, I want to pass source path. So I'm going to pass that. Whoops, this should fail because there should be an argument there. So move file. And now what we're going to do is go back to, whoops. That was weird. I don't know what just happened there. I think it was because I was in a directory that got deleted and got rebuilt, and it did the weird access. I'm not sure what that was. Anyways, downloadbsmith.com. This time we're going to do prod content. There we go. This is 2 quarts. So we're going to take this directory. And again, this probably isn't the best way to test. I'm still a little bit unsure what the best ways to test are with files and directories and stuff. But we're going to pass the input file that we want. And so this is actually really good. So this is what we want to do for the test. Like, this is the structure of the test. We're going to clear the directory. We're going to say move a specific file with a path to that file, and then we're going to make sure it shows up in the right place. I'm not worried about checking the contents of the file because it's like I'm going to use the copy command, and I don't need to check the copy command. The copy command has been very well tested by other people. But this is the test to run. So right now we're still green. So I've added the path of this file, but I'm not using it yet. But I've got it in here. But and so I'm staying green. Whoops. I'm going to add that in a second. I'm staying green. And while I'm staying green, now I want to do Python copy a file. There we go. You can, of course, Google all this stuff. I happen to have notes for a bunch of stuff that I've done in the past, which is one of the things I think is important about this is showing you my developer notebook and showing you how important it is to have a developer notebook, or how helpful it is. I'd say important. So this we're actually going to put all the way up here. shutil, which is probably like, whoops, what was it? Copy 2. So now what we should be able to do is right here, copy 2, source path, and then we're manually going to put in the path to the file right now. Oops. And then we should be able to take this out. I'm going to add that test flip in there. Still green. Okay, cool. And so it's awesome now is what we should see is there's actually content in that file. So it actually moved it. So it did the copy. And again, I'm confident in the copy, like I'm confident in that shutil copy2 command. I just need to make sure I've got the paths lined up. So that's what my test is doing. It's just basically saying, start here, end here. And right now, I'm passing the start path, but then I'm hard coding the end path. So then I can clean this up. So I'm making the directory and I'm copying it. So I'm actually going to go ahead and commit that because that feels like a good place to commit. Where'd GitHub Desktop go? It's loading. There we go. Okay, I did some stuff here. Oh, I was making some other changes. Bear with me a second while I clean all this stuff up. Oh, okay. I should have done a commit when I moved the files. Oops, I should have done that. All right, so hang on. Let me do what I do here. Rear upper bold red. Okay. Start center videos. That was something I was working on, just messed around with a second ago before we started here. A couple live coding posts. All right, so I don't want. No, I'm actually going to let this stuff go. So like. Or am I? I can't figure out if I want to commit this stuff into the post target every time. Like it's kind of the data instead of the code. Yeah, I think I'm gonna get rid of that directory. Let me do this. Moved file and set up shameless green for file move. Test shameless green for file move. So what I'm going to do now is just prod target. Oh shit, I can't do that. Content slash. Is that going to do that? So I just don't want to have, yeah, so I just don't want to have all the, keep having all the test stuff be in the Git repository. I'll move, once I get everything moved, it'll jump back into the prod and then I'll delete that stuff. That'll be fine, but this is good enough for now. So exclude test content from repo. All right, so now we're back. So we can close that. All right, so now what do I want to do? So I'm not going to mess with this test, right? This test does what I want. It clears the directory out, moves the file, calls a specific file to move, and then verifies that it's there. So something that I do need to do here is I need to get the directory. So like this is hard-coded. Oh no, so I need, oh yeah, so Yeah, okay, this isn't that bad. This is the core of it. I need to make a determination. So this file. Oh, I just figured out why the images are going to be a little bit more tricky. This file needs to go into that year directory with its own directory in it. So all I really need to do is open the file in its original location, grab the year that's in the metadata, and then create a directory based off that under a post directory, and then move the directory name. Yeah, okay. So like, okay, I got it. I think I'm there. So I'm just, and I don't need to think too much about that. I'm just going to start working on a thing and see if I can get it to go. And so the first thing that I want to do is I need to figure out how to get 2006. Actually, let's see. What's the, if I'm passing 2 quarts index? Okay, so I'm sure last time, or one of the last times I did this, I went through and I know that the structure, this directory structure is always the same in terms of under content. There are a bunch of single directories, all of which have files in them and no directories in them. So based off that, I can actually look at the file path and get the name of the directory that I want to create. So we're going to try and do that now. So let's do this. Print source path. I just want to do that for now. Right? And so with that, what's the right way to do this? So I just want that 2 quarts name. So let's get this. I'm just gonna work on split. I'm actually not sure how split works here. Python split. All right, what are W3 schools? W3 schools sometimes, like it's fine. It's fine. I shouldn't actually say that. If it works for you, cool. Like sometimes I feel a little. I don't know. I've learned a bunch of good stuff from it. I don't know. It's something about it sometimes. Split strength of each word. Split. Okay. Split, syntax split, match split. Separator. All right. Okay. So. Directories. Directory names. Source path split on that. Whoops. Ah! Okay. What's the Y word? Yeah, there you go. I'm trying to do better at whatever this thing's called. That was super long. So I'm using commands, key commands to copy and paste stuff. There we go. So here's the split of the directory. Users Alan S, Woodshed, alanlewis.com, prod, content, 2 quarts, index. So now what I need to do is get the one before the last one. And I think if I do this, I go over here. So that gets the last one, and this should get the next to last one. 2 quarts. Okay, so there's my directory name. And so now what I can do, I'm going to start making the output path here. Output path equals all that. But now that I've got output directory, so sorry, hang on, because I need to make that as a directory. So it's better to get the directory first. And if I do format this, sometimes I get lazy. I'm going to do that next. 2 quarts. Okay, so that's my output directory. And so again, I've got that test suite underneath me. So now what I should be able to do is, if I did everything right, output dir, I want to make the output directory. Oops. And that worked. It's always a little bit weird, but like that got it going again. Right, so just to prove it manually, there it is. Cool. That's what's great about having tests. Like I can make those small changes and I'm confident that they're working. So that gives me the output directory, and then output path. I'm pretty confident it's always going to be index.md for these files. And the thing that I was talking about earlier, the thing that I realized is, and it's going to make this a little bit tricky, is image. So right now, the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to look inside the index file. I'm going to grab the date and then use that date to pull out the year. The image files aren't going to have a date in them. So I'm still going to have to look at the index file, grab its date, and then use its date to set up the path for the image files. I'll cross that bridge when I get there, but that was the realization I had a little while ago. But so this path, to do test that there are no files besides, no markdown files, no MD files besides index.md files. Like, I'm pretty sure that's going to be the case, but I don't want to lose stuff. Oops, output path. We should have this format output. I know there's a different way to do the format stuff these days, but I haven't gotten it in my fingers yet, and I'm not gonna look it up right now. And so now whoops, let's get over to the tests. There you go. So I now know that I actually need pathlib because I'm using that path to do the make dir. So I can move that up there. What was that? Oh yeah, and actually that's funny. I could actually just do this too. Test, I mean, it should still work, but that's cool. Am I doing that? whatever. So this isn't Shameless Green anymore. This is it. I'm actually building the function. So I mean, I've been building function the whole time, but not really building it. All right. Good. Test pressing. I do like doing tests. Like when I was first doing that, I was like, I don't want to write tests. It should be pretty simple. But like, especially that image stuff, like I've gotten to the point where I pretty much always do tests, or I try to pretty much always do tests. But I was about to talk myself out of it, but I'm glad I didn't. So directory source split path, so output dir. And so we should know. There's one other thing that we can do here, which is going to be oops. So I've got okay, so the destination directory is really posts. Whoops. Like everything's going under posts. So now what we should be able to do, sorry, I'm zoning out here a little bit. I'm a little tired. So now we're going to get the basic part. Yeah, so this is us continuing to move down and take out the manual stuff. So see if this still passes. Still passes. There you go. And eventually we'll take out this 2006. That'll be the next thing that we try and accomplish here. So let's commit that. So what do we want to say we did here? That's not a good description, but that's fine. All right, so the other thing I'm going to do, just because it keeps messing with me, unit test. Cool. See you, Steve. If name equals main unit test. Oh, so how would you? Cool, man. See you, dude. So I used to do for test import primary test file. Sweet test alert. No, because I couldn't do. Basic test, run test before script. Now I had a thing for a while. That's probably in here somewhere. Yeah, this is probably it. Okay, this is it. I'm going to copy and paste this. So I'm going to throw this to Sublime Text just to make it easy to do the formatting. Should definitely be content there. Try it again. There we go. So basically, what this will do is if I try and run the main file instead of the test file, it'll actually call and run the test file for me. I'll show you how that works, assuming I got this is still going to work. So it should be get test counts. Whoops. Oh, okay, so you got to call the right test, which, what do we call it? That. And then what was the name of that? Is that gonna work? Unit test is not defined. Come on. Wait, why not? That still works, right? Yes. So why didn't this work? Hang on. Oh, I must have had unit test up there. Gotcha. So all I'm having to do is update these class calls to the actual name of the class that's inside the test file, which is, file is test update directory structure is the name of the file or module, and then dir move test is the name of the class. See what that does. There you go. So what that lets me do is if I'm on the test file, obviously if I run the test file, it runs and gives you the test. So cool, everything's passing. If I'm actually on my main file and I use my hotkeys to run it, it calls the test file for me, runs the test, and then comes back, and then it will let me know if everything passed. And so just to show you how that works, if I go here and I move to a different file, that should fail. So I can see that failure from the test file, but I can also see it while I'm in the main file. And it's just, I like that really a lot so that I don't have to keep jumping over to the test file run. It saves a step and then a step back. So if I'm working in the main file, I would have to move over to the test file and then run it and then move back. With this, you just run it. So it saves those two steps, the move over and the move back, which I like a lot. So, and now if I do this, it'll pass again and we're good. So do that. Add, switch to run, test from main file. And then so the other thing that you can do with that, or that I do with that is, so this will let me run that test file. It also, every time I try and run the main file, it runs the test suite for me. So like I do that with some things where I don't touch them all that often because I want to make sure it works. And like if I add new stuff into it, it's like I want to make sure it doesn't break. So I'd rather see a test suite run and break and stop the script from running, then the script will run halfway through and then break, and then you have to go figure out what happened and then have to clean up all the mess. Sometimes with this type of stuff, like I like having that production. But it's just another way to do stuff. You can also like, oh yeah, if you wanted to see the actual like test run and how many tests to run and all that other stuff, it's over there. I don't think it does real-time updating. So if it like takes a long test, I think you have to wait for it. But I can't remember if the stream lets that happen. I don't remember. But anyways, that's super useful. I'm going to call it there because I'm sure it's gonna take me a while to figure out how to get this 2006 out of here, or the date out of there. So we'll do that another time. So let's do this. Do next step. And then so the other thing that you can do is leave things in a broken state, which always feels weird to me, but it helps me get back into it. Your directory equals 2007, and actually it's gonna be a string. So now the output directory is going to be completely done. Well, actually what I should do is prove this. So it should still be green. Still green. But now to make sure I want to focus in on this piece, that's where I want to come back. I'm going to make that 2000. Whoa, there we go. 2007. Doesn't matter what it is. Actually, no, it's good. And not breaks. And so what that does is it gives me a really specific target on where to go start over again, or to start working again. Actually surprised. Oh, line 13. Yeah, so it gives you the specific target. It's not breaking on the code. Okay. So I actually don't need this next step there. I'll just know when I come in and run my test suite, boom, it's broken. Hey, it's assert true for TD test TD move or file moved, and then that'll help me like get to this place right here. So cool. That's it for now. Hope you all have a good one, and we'll see you around. Be safe out there. Social distancing, all that jazz. Be careful. Be kind. Later. I need hotkeys so I can just hit a button. Ooh, shit. Sorry, I hit the mic. So if I can just hit a button and have it stop. Anyways, see ya.